The driver I am most looking forward to watching in 2023 is undoubtedly Oscar Piastri. Forget the fact that he is a Formula 2 champion who's had to sit out for a year, and forget the fact that he's one of only 3 drivers to win the Formula 3 and Formula 2 championships in back-to-back seasons. Piastri doesn't have to just live up to the pressure and hype of being an F2 champion and following in the footsteps of Russell and Leclerc, but Piastri as a rookie has to single-handedly justify McLaren dropping a 9-time race winner and still paying his 2023 salary, whilst at the same time being the difference maker that will get McLaren back to the top of the midfield. All of those factors and many more are why Piastri is the most exciting driver to watch in 2023, and also why, in my opinion, there hasn't been this much hype around an F1 rookie since Lewis Hamilton made his debut in a race-winning car back in 2007. The very mere fact that Oscar Piastri is a back-to-back F2 and F3 champion means that naturally people are going to look at what Leclerc and Russell have gone on to achieve and hold him to the same standard. Looking at 2022, Leclerc had his first ever taste of a title battle, and even though the season didn't pan out the way he or Ferrari wanted, taking away 3 Grand Prix wins and 9 pole positions whilst being the undoubted leader of Ferrari is still a very impressive achievement. As for Russell, in a weird way, 2022 was almost his first proper season in Formula 1 where we could actually make any sort of judgment or comparison of how good he really is. Again, whilst I'm sure that he and Mercedes would have wanted more, under the circumstances, bagging his first pole position and Grand Prix win whilst beating Lewis, I think that means that he's also delivered on his potential. And that's the point. Both Leclerc and Russell have justified that hype, and the expectation is for Piastri to do the same. Now, of course, I am not saying that he's got to be getting poles and Grand Prix wins as a rookie because obviously so much will depend on the car that he's going to be given, but the signs of a future superstar have to be there in Piastri's rookie season in the same way that they were there for Leclerc, and to a lesser extent Russell as well. Speaking of McLaren, one of the reasons why historically they've been one of my absolute favourite teams is that much like Red Bull, they are not afraid of giving young talented rookies a chance in Formula 1. Now, granted, it has been a bit hit and miss. Even looking at just the last 15 years, whilst the likes of Lewis and Lando have been huge successes even as rookies, drivers like K-Mag and Stoffel Vandoorne have been less so. Although, in their defense, both K-Mag and Vandoorne just came into McLaren at the absolute worst time. Now, funnily enough, in both cases, it was some guy named Fernando Alonso who kind of ended their McLaren careers as quickly as they started. But at the same time, especially in the case of Stoffel Vandoorne, the McLaren-Honda era of McLaren was not in any way an environment that a rookie who was trying to find their confidence could flourish at. I think the work that Zach Brown and Andreas Seidel have put in to change the culture massively benefited Lando, and in the same way, I actually think McLaren, more so than teams like Alpine or Aston Martin, are the best suited now to put a young driver in the best possible position to succeed, and to give them the feeling that the team has their full support and confidence, despite their lack of experience. It'll be very interesting to see if McLaren's new team principal, Andrea Stella, can continue to build on that good environment under his leadership. Although, in a way, just like when Seidel's first season coincided with Lando's first season, I think Stella starting his first season as the team principal in the same season that Piastri is making his debut might also help as well. I'm not saying that I have got massive psychological insight here, but in a way, I think it helps the driver-team principal dynamic when you feel like you're on a similar journey together. I will say, however, that the one thing that won't help Piastri feel settled is if McLaren underdeliver in giving their drivers a better car. Of course, he needs to be given a car to at least fight for decent points so he can actually show his potential. But if the team drop the ball again and fall even further behind than they already did in 2022, it's going to put even more pressure on Oscar Piastri because his feedback, despite his lack of experience, is going to be crucial to the team if they need to troubleshoot their way out of a development hole. Something else that's going to put pressure on Piastri is simply going up against Lando Norris. Now, Lando himself is in a really strange place in his career. I've talked on my channel before about 1,000,001 times about how Lando at this stage just can't do anything more than he's already doing with the equipment that he's been given. On potential alone, to me, he is on that level with the likes of Sainz, Russell, and maybe Leclerc as well. But until we see him be given a race-winning car, and until he's tested under that next level of pressure and the expectations that comes with a race-winning car, he's kind of stuck in the midfield. Because of how bad Ricciardo was in the past 2 years, and the way in which Norris dominated Ricciardo, everyone is going to be expecting Lando to still have a healthy advantage over Piastri in his team. Now, on one hand, going up against a driver who is in the form of his life in his own team means that Piastri can only really look bad if he's even worse than Ricciardo was. And to be honest, I don't even want to think about that. But at the same time, it does open the door for the very slim chance of Piastri potentially beating Norris because there just isn't that expectation for him to do so, and the expectation is for Lando to assert his dominance in what is now his team. The Lando factor will be very interesting to watch because I think McLaren have two of the most exciting young drivers on their hands, but the management of them is going to be important because in Piastri and Norris, certainly in terms of mentality, I see two drivers who absolutely have the self-confidence and belief that they can be world champions. Now, how that will manifest if Piastri is a lot closer to Norris than we expect will be very interesting to watch. In Formula 1, there's only room for one number one driver. However, all of those factors that I've been talking about pale into significance to the real reason of why there is so much hype around Oscar Piastri, and that's the way in which he's ended up as a McLaren driver, despite for most of his single-seater career being a Renault junior driver. The Piastri fiasco of the summer of 2022 kind of meant that Oscar, despite having never driven in F1, didn't just make a splash in the world of F1, he made a tsunami in the world of Formula 1. Keep in mind that McLaren are paying close to $20 million in 2023 to not have Ricciardo at the team and instead have him doing donuts for Red Bull. The mountains McLaren climbed to get rid of Ricciardo and poach Piastri is usually something we'd only see for either a world championship caliber driver who's suddenly become available, or a young driver who has already shown so much potential in a smaller team that he's as close to a sure thing as it gets. To go to these lengths to get a rookie puts a huge amount of pressure on Piastri's shoulders. When I look at McLaren in the last 2 years, I genuinely think that Ricciardo has potentially cost them 2 places in the Constructors. In 2021, although Ferrari had a better car in the second half of the season, Norris during the midway point in Hungary was still 3rd in the championship. And that means if they did have 2 drivers who were delivering early on in the season when McLaren were fastest, the gap could have been too big for Ferrari to close. And then in 2022, the mere fact that Norris almost single-handedly challenged Alpine and made them sweat towards the end of the season also means that with 2 drivers getting the most out of the car, there is a world where McLaren finish 3rd in 2021 and 4th in 2022. Oscar Piastri can't just do a good job, he has to come into Formula 1 and perform almost immediately at the level of a very high midfield driver. He has to justify McLaren's decision to drop Ricciardo early at the tune of $20 million, and he also has to be the difference maker in the Constructors' Championship that McLaren have been missing. You don't make the sort of waves that he made last summer by turning your back on a team as good as Alpine to then go to McLaren and only be able to deliver at Ricciardo's level. Piastri is coming into F1 as a rookie, but the circumstances around his technically non-existent F1 career so far means that the expectations are way beyond your average F1 rookie. I think Oscar Piastri has all of the makings of a top quality driver. He's undoubtedly got the speed. In interviews, he also seems to have a very calm and mature head, and I think having Mark Webber in his corner will also be a massive help to him as well. The bar for what would be a successful season for him is very, very high. Will he ultimately deliver on his potential and be the difference maker that McLaren need him to be? Well, this is where I'll hand it over to you to let me know.